Taking on memory lane, one shoot at a time. Baby Song, good evening to you. Debbie Suku, good evening, good evening. Omanat, good evening to you guys. Please share the link, share the love as we have the beautiful Dimple Willabus who's currently running for City Council District 46. Guys, share the link. I want everyone to participate and everyone to know what she stands for as we become, we hear from her shortly. Well, again, good evening to each and every one of you, and thank you for choosing Shanaz Musical Sensation to keep you company on this beautiful Thursday night. Hey, Farah, good evening to you guys. Komal, good evening to you. And we're going to pull the music down a little bit so you guys can hear about the beautiful Dimple Willabus. And I believe Dimple came from a Guyanese background. We'll talk more about that. She'll tell you a little bit more about herself, but I know right now she is currently a mother, a wife, and a business owner, not forget a mentor, who is running for City Council District 46, and she wears many caps. She's also, I believe, was an editor of CBS, right? Am I right?
An assistant editor.
Yes. An assistant editor in CBS. So I was impressed. So guys, let's put your hands together. Welcome the beautiful Dimple Willabus as she's running for City Council District 46, which is including Virgin Beach, I never heard of that, Canarsie, Georgetown, Garriston Beach, Mill Basin, Mill Island, Marine Park I'm familiar with, Sheepshead Bay, and Flatlands. So put your hands together and welcome. I know the traffic was a little terrible, but we got to start the party as we build it up for you guys, coming in. So thank you, Dimple, for stopping by our studio tonight, and tell our viewers a little bit more about yourself. Welcome.
Thank you. First of all, Shanaz, thank you for having me. And to your viewers, good evening, especially to Mr. Paul Indajit. I thank you for the greetings. Of course, I bring greetings from Brooklyn, even though I'm in a different borough. As you know, Shanaz is in every borough, in every part of New York City, and in every part of the world.
Wow.
Everywhere you go, Guyanese are everywhere.
A friend of mine was looking at my flyer on Facebook, and he lives in New Jersey, and he said, oh my God, the name sounds so familiar. She sung like she was living in Albion for a while. So he was trying to build a relationship, see where you're coming from. And I said, I believe you're from Guyana, but I'm not sure of what area.
So if the person knew me from Guyana, they would remember me as Dimple Singh, because I was a person who hosted the first live television show back in the early 90s.
Early 90s.
Right. This is when, television had just birthed in Guyana, especially live television in Guyana back in the 90s. So there's a lot of history behind it. People look at my last name, Willabus, that's my married name, but people who know me from back in the day would remember me as Dimple Singh.
And where is the Willabus from in Guyana?
The Willabus are from Linden and Berbice.
Linden, Berbice, okay.
Linden and Berbice, those two parts, different family members are from.
Good evening to Mr. Dale Moti from the Sunshine State. Alvin Ramsook, some upstate. Good evening to Rohini Tatal. Share the link, share the love. I want you guys to get familiar with her face as she's running for City Council District 46, and I listed all the areas. Are we missing any of the areas that I listed before? I never heard of Virgin Beach. Where is that like?
So Virgin Beach is part of southern Brooklyn. And in southern Brooklyn, where I'm from, where I live, it's a very big, very diverse community, very rich Guyanese community as well, Caribbean community. And certain segments of the community consist of Jewish constituents as well as Italian. So it's very diverse and very rich.
Wow, you see, we learn something every day, and that is what our culture and our community is about. By living in New York alone, we are diverse. We come from different walks of life. Bangladesh, we're so mixed. A lot of folks from Guyana, but I didn't know that was a nice area that you just mentioned. I will be checking it out. So you're going to be running for City Council District 46 and getting in there. Who is our current City Council district right now?
So the incumbent is currently Mr. Alan Mizell. And he's actually term limited out and retiring. So he served well over the decades as, a community person as well as, a politician. So it's time for a new journey, a new vision. We, the Caribbean community, are very vibrant, hardworking, especially the Guyanese community. And for me, who, like you said, many titles, moreover business owner, being in the community, Guyanese are very vibrant, they're hardworking people, they go home, take care of the kids, the family, but then they go out there and work 10 jobs if they need to provide for their family. And I think it's only fitting and only right that we take our rightful place in leadership positions as well. If we're taxpayers, if we're homeowners, then we have the right to be in that position. Moreover, because if we're not in that position, people would not understand our culture. We bring a rich culture, you know, to this country as well. And the only way we can celebrate something like Diwali as a holiday is if we have somebody at the table in the city council who can bring this, where we can say our people can be well represented. Nobody can do this unless we have somebody there at the table to explain it.
That's right. As we all know, the election is set for June 22nd. And I actually went home and I opened a mail that, you know, an absent that came from the Board of Elections, you know. So you could request an absentee ballot, but, you know, what's stopping us from going out and do our civic duty, perform our civic rights of voting? You know, that's something. We need our voices out there. We need to be heard. And this is your chance to go out there and put, you know, last week we had Mr. Japneet Singh, who is running for City Council District 28, representing the South Asian community candidate, right? So it's about diversity, bringing our community, building those bridges together. So what would you like to accomplish when you, and I would say you got my vote in District 46. Hopefully I could vote in that district.
So yeah, well, you're doing a lot right now by being able to talk about the campaign and to expose the fact that, you know, a Guyanese, moreover a woman, because I'll tell you that there are 51 seats in the city council and there are only 12 that are occupied by women, and there's none that are Guyanese. So there's a lot to consider here in this race. This race is very unique, and in order for us to have somebody who is experienced and will do the job on day one, we need somebody who understands the dynamics of it, because we will have a new mayor, we will have a new borough president, Brooklyn borough president, we will have a new controller, we will have, you know, 35 new city council members, because, you know, 35 are being term limited out or retiring or have some kind of movement. So there's a lot of shifting. Moreover, we want to make sure, like I said, we represent well as a woman, and women in general need to come to the table, because a lot of decisions are made for women, and, you know, how from pay scale to our bodies when it comes to certain things, and we're not there to vote correctly on certain initiatives.
And I know the voting is a little different. I know listening to the radio today, someone was talking about, you know, what city council he's running for. And I know I must applaud Women of the Month, Women of the Year. Women are stepping up to the plate, you know, give them a round of applause. And I admire you guys for doing that. We had Soma running also. She's running for city council judge. Queens County judge. She was running for city council before. Now she's running for the judge. So guys, give them your love and support, because I believe, and I know Mr. Inderji, the president of the Queens Community Lions Club, will challenge me on this one, because I believe woman gets more accomplished.
Well, I have to say, I think women are more level-headed, in my opinion, as a business owner. I think women, you know, really rationalize things well. Not to mention, scientifically, we use both sides of the brain, except for the men, they use one side. That is scientifically been proven. So, you know, we can't argue with numbers in terms of science.
Right.
Well, what I'll really add on one quick layer is that there's ranked choice voting for this particular election, which is very unique and different, because people voted on this back in the day, a few years ago, voters. And the important thing to note in ranked choice voting is that you don't have to vote for 5 people if you don't want to. If you feel like there's one person who stand out for borough president, you can vote for that person. However, this ranked choice voting gives you the option. So if you feel as if you're really torn between 2 candidates for city council in your district, not necessarily only District 46, but wherever you're living in New York City, and you feel as if John Smith and Pam Jones or whatever is the 2 people, then you rank them 1 and 2. So you don't have to do the whole list of 5, because people are very confused and don't really understand the process.
Why they have to select 5,
right.
You know, just choose 1 and 2.
Right.
The beautiful Dimple is also CEO of Rhythm Nation Entertainment and the president of Showers Youth and Non-for-Profit Organization. Tell us a little bit about that. It seems like you're involved in community work also. Let me mention, she is also a member of the Queens Community Lions Club, because she wants to serve. When she's in a position, you want to serve.
Absolutely. So Rhythm Nation was the name of my show back in Guyana in 1996. And the name of the program was actually founded by Nigel Blackman, who was the son of Noah Blackman, who owned NBTV Channel 9 back in Georgetown. So he hired me as a staff at 19 years old to host the first live television program. At that point, I was doing a lot of modeling and into entertainment. So he found me and we met, we became friends. Hosted the program, and fast forward, I bought the rights to the program over. I became the producer of the program. And fast forward a little further, my older daughter and I, we are currently business partners, and we kind of, in Guyana, we kind of now do a lot of production-based work, of which she kind of spearheads. So we still have the name of the program.
I wanted to say, when I mentioned she's a mother, I want to say you're a state-of-the-art mother. You're a mentor when it comes to your kids, and I applaud you. I see what you're doing for them, and it's like teamwork. You know, they're doing the same for you. Would you like to elaborate on any one of them right now?
So I have to mention the oldest one because she's 28 this year, and she is a backbone, but she plays a major role as the wings beneath me. And
you decide to collab with the Queens Community Lions Club to make that more. You do book signing. You also have a lot of food pantry, food giving out in Brooklyn also. I saw so many clips of it. And you have your entire family there supporting you. And yes, the youngest published author, that was the one I've been following her for a while, and I said, this is time for you. They're giving you all the support, but how do you manage to support all of them and make them strive to be the best they could be an author at age 14? Well, eight. So
with Anaya, I must say I have 3 kids. I love them all dearly, and my son-in-law too, who's one of my children. So my daughter Anaya when she was very young, we realized that it was something unique about her in terms of her interest in reading and being able to repeat everything that she read, an entire book. So at a very young age, she would draw different images, and then she would write, and she was able to read at 2.5 years old, but she couldn't speak clearly. But it was something unique about her academically that we knew that something was different. So when people knew
not different, gifted.
We know
she was talented and gifted,
yes. Right. So at 7 years old, she actually started drafting her book when she went to Guyana for the first time. We had the kids all visit Guyana so they would learn about our culture and our country, where me and my husband are from. And her experience was unique from my other kids. It kind of had an impact on her, so she started jotting notes down because that's what she did. But she also wrote a lot of poetry prior to writing her first book. And she won many awards. She has over 30-something awards. But to answer your question, we have the Stalwarts Youth Corporation, and we found that organization 5 years ago when Anaya was 9 to be able to give back to our community, because what we found is that for me, being in education, I'm a very big advocate when it comes to anything education related with children. I found that a lot of kids are graduated from high school and not able to read or write a comprehensive essay, and that's missing. So being that Anaya was so much involved in education, and my husband and I are both big advocates for our children, making sure they're assets to society. So Anaya, we found her organization, and it pretty much promotes literacy and the empowerment of young people. So during the pandemic a year ago, when we saw what was happening in the community, people were, not working, they didn't have food. So we decided to, provide to the community. We were the first organization that went out there during the pandemic and served food. My dad actually passed away from COVID on April 9th. And during that time, that was kind of a healing process to me. I was literally serving food, and nobody knew the hurt I was going through losing my dad. Yeah. And when my parents came here to America, they literally lived on 115 and 101 in Liberty, almost 30-something years. And being able to serve in the way in which we did was so helpful to me, being able to see people receive, and was thankful. And being able to juggle everything, as you had asked the question, it's a matter of, for me, how I look at life is that for me to be successful, I have to watch my children be successful first. I know who I am, and I know what I want to accomplish as a woman and a mother. And I know that women, we're the backbone of a family. And of our husband and our children. And if we move away as a foundation, everything crumbles. So for me, what I did, I work at nights. I made sure that I did whatever I had to do to make sure my children are well taken care of and had a great foundation and a quality education. And I was also raising my husband in the process, because through the journey of over the decades, he was able to further his education. And as well as those of you who know, my husband is a retired military Marine veteran, and he is now a lieutenant with the NYPD. So through that journey, we've done a lot.
Wow, I don't know how you have the time, but yes, she's an inspiration to others out there, not just our woman. Elijah Deodat, good evening to you. And I also a word of encouragement. If you want something, you have to work for it. Nothing is given on a silver platter. Am I right?
Absolutely.
It's hard work and dedication, and you're sacrificing time to be out there, and you did a fantastic job. You're doing a fantastic job with your family, doing a great job. Mr. Indrajit Paul, thank you. Rohini Chital, Miles, Alex, good evening to you. We have a beautiful, she's talking about Guyana. We do have a beautiful music video. I want to feature this guy out there, Mr. Stephen Rampal. Hey Debbie, good evening to you. Varsha, how you doing? Let's go with a wonderful song titled Love is the Trend, representing homeland Guyana. Stephen Rampal, do enjoy.
One alone might not make a difference, but together we can be unstoppable. Let us join together to bring unity through music. One people, one music.
Na 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 na. Whoa whoa. Team unity. Just show some love. Put up your hands and show some love. Wave your rag now and show some love. Show some love. Just show some love. Stop the fighting, my brother. Fighting, my brother. Stop the hate, my friend. Hate, my friend. Let's all come together. All come together. I mean, say love is the trend. Love is the trend. No matter your color. No matter your color. It no matter who you be. No matter who you be. Just be proud where you're from now. Proud, proud, proud. Say I am Guyanese. I am Guyanese. Stop the fighting, my brother. Fighting, my brother. Stop the hate, my friend. Hate, my friend. Let's all come together. All come together. I mean, say love is the trend. Love is the trend. It no matter your color. No matter your color. It no matter who you be, no matter who you be. Just be proud where you're from now. Say I am Guyanese, I am Guyanese. Just show some love. Put up your hands and show some love. Wave your hand now and show some love. Show some love, just show some love. Everybody right now, just show some love. Put up your hands and show some love. Wave your hand now and show some love. Show some love, just show some love. Long time we never link up. We used to line on the corner and drink up. Sometime we used to play ball. Yes, cricket and sometime football. I don't know what really happened to me. Why the fighting, the hate and the jealousy. At the end of the day when we thinking it's not 6 months ago we the line it. Stop the fighting, my brother. Stop the hate, my friend. Let's all come together. And we say love is the trend. It no matter your color. It no matter who you be. Just be proud where you're from now. Say I am Guyanese, I am Guyanese. Just show some love. Put up your hands and show some love. Wave your hand now and show some love. Show some love, just show some love. Everybody right now, just show some love. Put up your hands and show some love. Wave your hand now and show some love. Show some love, just show some love. Sometime I just wonder where the days gone when we was younger. All of we used to climb tree, pick a the mango, the guava and cherry. But now we separated. This race thing make me the victim. Don't look on race, don't look on creed. Try cut your skin, it's the same that we bleed. Stop the fighting, my brother. Fighting, my brother. Stop the hate, my friend. Hate, my friend. Let's all come together. All come together. And me say love is the trend. Love is the trend. It no matter your color. No matter your color. It no matter who you be. No matter who you be. Just be proud where you're from now. Say I am Guyanese, I am Guyanese. Just show some love. Put up your hands and show some love. Wave your hand now and show some love. Show some love, just show some love. Everybody right now, just show some love. Put up your hands and show some love. Wave your hand now and show some love. Show some love, just show some love. Unity saying, united we stand, divided we fall. One love.
Shanty Strings Studios.
Show some love. Show some love. Show some love. Show some love. Show some love.
It's called Show Some Love, guys. Show some love indeed with our beautiful Dimple Willabus, who's running for City Council District 46. So put up your hands, raise your flags if you have to, and support the beautiful Dimple Willabus, who was also appointed to the NYC Mayor's Education Task Force. She served as Eric Adams, the borough president, President of Education. Appointee. Well, that was a big role. Advisory of the board on Brooklyn Chambers of Commerce. Tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, you have the first hand working with Eric Adams.
So I should retract and say that for all parents, for me, it was extremely important that I engage in my children's school. So being on the PTA gave me an insight on how we can vote on policies and books, so on and so forth. Very important things that a lot of parents sometimes overlook because of time. I understand parents are busy, but for me, I was always very involved and still is involved in my children's education in that aspect. And playing that intricate role, I was able to meet a lot of elected officials because they saw my interest in education, my passion and outspokenness for my advocacy work for education, and being able to fill those roles in the PTA. I ran for the president of the CEC, which is a Community Education Council. There are many councils throughout New York City, and I was the president for District 22. And serving in that capacity, I kind of overlooked 38 different schools, middle and high schools. And people talked about me in a certain circle, and I was appointed as the Brooklyn Borough President appointee for Brooklyn, which also served, to overlook all the schools, in our district, in our education district. So, and then I received a message from the mayor's office saying that they were interested in me being appointed as, to be on the education task force. Now, in the capacity in the mayor's office really helped to work on legislations that would be able to involve parents to have more voting rights in certain spaces, in a nutshell. So for me, of course, I wanted to make sure our parents' voices were heard, not only in English, but in different languages, because as you can see, our communities throughout New York City is very diverse. And I wanted to make sure parents are included, especially parents who have children with disabilities will have a voice as well.
Beautiful. Now talk about this election and how we go about voting, because I know a lot of folks don't know how to vote, and it's for me, I would say it easy, but I don't want to say it's easy for everyone else. Language is a barrier, but they do mail you a ballot or at home in your language, your preferred language, and they do have several languages on the ballot. So explain to us, for those of you who want to go out and vote, she'll explain it to you.
So first of all, I should tell people and encourage them to go out early to vote, because early voting starts on June 12th to the 20th. And one of the very important things to note is that it's imperative that you go on the Board of Elections website. And it's so very straightforward. Board of Elections, early voting. It populates right there with the information. You enter your address, and it tells you your voting location. Now, for some people, they usually have a school or a local religious organization where they go to vote. Now, this year, it's probably going to be different because there's early voting. So it's important that people check that out if you're going to vote early. And your elections location is going to differ in some cases. So it's extremely important. Now, in my race, for example, in District 46, I was fortunate to be first on the ballot. So for those of you who live in District 46 or have family or friends, literally when you look on the ballot, my name is right there as number one. It's R. Dimple Willabus. Some people ask me, what's the R for? I said that's a gifted
Ronnie.
name. Rajmati.
Rajmati was close.
Rajmati. Rajmati, yes. So I have a book name because my dad was Hindu because he passed. And I have 3 other sisters. So it's Nan Kumari, Jam Kumari, Hem Kumari. And my dad said the Pandit, he expected me to be named Raj Kumari. But then when my dad took me and they opened a book to read or whatever it was, he said, no, this child is not a Rajkumari. Rajkumari is a princess, and Rajmati is the queen of the castle, and this child is going to be very powerful leader. So that's the story behind the R. So I don't get rid of the R.
You see it, vote for R. Dimple Willabus, New York City Council District 46, and that picture is right up there. I believe that was taken on Eid Day because you went to the mosque. Your support of all different religion. That's what we are all about: love, positivity, inspiration. And I was so proud when I saw you. I said you make the time to go out there for their Eid prayers and to support them. Here it is, May 13th. So guys, Dimple Willabus, June 22nd is elections. You guys could go out from June 12th.
June 12th to the 20th, yes.
To the 20th. And go out and vote. She is number 1 on the ballot when it comes to District 46. And Miles, Alex, good evening to you. Debbie, how you doing? And she said, Women are the greatest indeed. Good evening to each and every one of you just joining us. We're talking with the beautiful and talented and yes, so full of vision and inspiration, and she would like to make a difference. You know, she's been serving our community for quite some time. Way before I heard of you running for city council, I've been seeing your work. So that's what community leaders are all about, because they want to be the voice representing us. They have to be out there, outspoken, helping our community, taking back what we want to higher offices, make sure we get the funding in our community. Hey Varsha, good evening to you. Debbie, good evening to you. Thank you guys for sharing the link, sharing the love. Did someone say Ravi B wedding party? We do have it on. Joni Sayam, good evening to you. Hey Chico, hi Ram, good evening to you. Merzina, good evening. Lawrence William, how you guys are doing? Thank you. Rohini Chital and Mr. Indrajit Paul, always supporting us and support the Queens Community Lions Club. They're also doing a fantastic job out there. Rafina, how you doing? Good evening. And Rafina Hanif is all representing Guyana when it comes. She is one good nurse. You know, I'm proud to say a Guyanese nurse. Hey, Mr. Joe Jaglal, you had a beautiful program Sunday. I was watching it. Beautifully put together. Rohini Chatal, good evening to you. And thank you for always loving and supporting Shanaz Musical Sensation, Ganga Persaud. And love is in the air. Love is always in the air. Let's go with some music, and we'll be back talking to the beautiful Dimple. Enjoy. Hey, Mr. Ganga Persaud, good evening to you. The beautiful Rafina Hanif, good evening. Thank you guys for tuning in to Shanaz Musical Sensation. Old is gold as we're taking you down memory lane, one tune at a time. It's old is an oldie segment. So Island Zone Radio, the family, good evening to you guys. The famous John from Queens, how are you doing? Good evening. Rohini Chatal, Chico, good evening. Thank you very much, and to each and every one of you, happy Thursday. Des Maureen, good evening to you. Are you looking for a special cake to mark that special occasion? That's right, let's make it a centerpiece. Call Sunita Ram 917-670-6088. We can design any cake or even make it better than your original design. Sunita Ram 917-670-6088. Birthday party, sweet 16, anniversary. Bring a cake design, we will bring it to life. Well guys, welcome back, the beautiful Sunita Ram. Good evening to you. If you want that special cake, call Sunita Ram, and yes, she'll customize a cake just for you. We're talking with the beautiful Dimple Willabus, running for City Council District 46. And what's your plans like? What are you planning to do for District 46?
Well, there's so much, because we're still in recovery mode from the pandemic. We can talk about things from like youth services to senior services to small businesses. Our small businesses do need a lot of support. One of the things that I'm totally against is there's a grant out there for small businesses, and you have to, in order to qualify, you have to run your credit. There are a lot of business owners who are not in a position to, qualify for that grant because of the fact that they have to run the credit. So if we were to eliminate something like that through the small business services and being able to provide the kind of support, I think small businesses would be able to thrive instead of just get by day by day. It's important for us to make sure we shoulder our small businesses because they also provide job security and jobs for our community. So that's on the small business piece. In terms of our children, a lot of children throughout this year have fallen behind because of COVID, and a lot of them have been home, not being able to be in person for school. So in some of the more impoverished communities, or not so much resources are pumped into those neighborhoods, a lot of the kids, there's a big digital divide with those children. They're not able to have the proper internet to actually log on online for classes. Some of them are losing out a lot, and some children have just lost hope. So it's important for us to kind of push back efforts into making sure our children are motivated about education again. A lot of children also in high school are struggling in terms of being able to make it out. Let's be real, a lot of kids may not want to go to college, but we need to have pathways created for them so they would get into trade. Growing up in a place like Guyana, I remember doing trade, being able to learn technical drawing, being able to learn agriculture. We need to still think about the soil and how we can use the soil to our advantage. So being able to provide those initiatives throughout the education spectrum is extremely critical for our young people. Being able to provide the right resources for seniors is important too, because a lot of seniors stay at home, whatever issues
mental health is very important also.
Absolutely.
They need an outreach to talk about this, and for the children, a children line that they could talk to, or someone like a guidance counselor to make calls and take questions. And they might not want to talk to their parents, but they need, in school they all have a guidance counselor. So I hope these schools are still partaking with that, and put that services in place, because it's a lot of things going on. When you leave the home, it's a lot of good things happen, and you stay at home isolated, you could start to think negative. It's a little depression could step in. So yes, empathy for others. So we need to put that in place for our kids and our elderly who don't have a location to go to. We get up, we go to work.
Right.
But the schools are still closed, so they don't have somewhere to go.
Right.
They have to be at home, homeschooling. Hey, Parvati Prabhu, good evening to you. Rohini Chital, Eileen Sukram from the Sunshine State, good evening to you. And what else would you like to tell our viewers out there?
So in terms of, the small business senior services, I was going to mention that one of the things that is lacking is being able to have mobile services for our seniors. Some of them are not all the time being able to travel to like further location out of the community to go to a doctor's office, a private practitioner. So it's important for us to set up mobile sites so seniors can be able to access, medical services, and families in general, being able to provide, quality and low-cost healthcare to, everyone, not only a certain demographic or certain income, but throughout New York City, and not only for my district. When I do stuff and say things, it's more about not only the district specific, but things that could impact children's lives in general, because I've done work, throughout, that would impact children's lives throughout New York City. So this is more about thinking about everyone, not only limited only to the city.
Brooklyn,
right.
In one area. Hey, Khalil Hussain, good evening to you. Eileen Sukram, thank you very much. Thank you guys for sharing the link and sharing the love. I know we're talking, but we have Mr. Ravi B and Mr. V Ram titled Drop Down Low. So we'll take that one back, Drop Down Low, as you guys enjoy. Let's rock and roll.
your mind and wine for this. Cause you got the energy and you got the remedy to walk it up, girl, get dirty and drop, down low, drop, down low, drop, 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 drop.
Zahir Khan.
Hey, baby, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop your body. Hey, baby, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop your body.
Big up to Mr. Viram in Trinidad and Tobago. Somebody say Ravi B in NYC. Who's ready to meet Mr. Ravi B?
I meet you in a party. The way she sexy, have me boss today.
And if you see that body, you know she come here ready. So wine and roll that bumper back on me. Every time you drop down, know my body swing so. Drop down, know my body swing so. Every time you drop down, know my body swing so. Body swing so. Hey, baby, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop your body. Hey, baby, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop your body. Hey, baby, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop your body. Hey, baby, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop, when it drop your body. Hey, me go so when you drop it and it sounds so. Black it out, black it out, black it out, blow. Me go so when you wobble it for me go. Black it out, black it out, black it out, blow. Go tell the mommy you're loving the rap. Run, run, tell the papi to make a wedding plan. Dance, dance for me, baby. I want to be a man. For me, it could be in any position. Go, go tell the mommy you're loving the rap. Run, run, tell the papi to make a wedding plan. Dance, dance for me, baby. I want to be a man. For me, it could be in any position.
And if you work real hard, lock it out. And everything sky high, lock it out. No have no time for bad mind. Lock it out. And if you work real hard, lock it out. And everything sky high, lock it out. No have no time for bad mind and trust them and see you. Lock it out, lock it out, lock it out.
Everybody watching now. This woman flexing.
Joy Shayam. Where is Rajiv Nandalal? Where is DJ Bolt?
She come here ready to wine and push that bumper back on me. And we going low.
Well, we're going low. We're going really, really low. We want to know where she got that name from, Dimple. And, you know, when you heard Dimple, you think eventually the Dimple Kapadia, right? But not knowing her father was a very, very our movie actress. So yes, is that where you get the name from?
And indeed it was from the movie Bobby back in the 70s. So some of you can have an idea as to what my age is if you're old enough to do the calculation of the movie. So yes, Dimple Kapadia. Most people know the name and know her, so they would know, okay, that's where I got it from.
Wow. So guys, we urge you to go out there and vote before early election is set up for June 12th. And election is June 22nd. It's a big election. So, you know, recently I'm following what's going on in our community and city council. What are the jobs of city council? They are the voice for our community, I'm assuming. And we have so many different leaders for different communities. So what you list a few of your accomplishments and few things that you would like to proceed when you do get appointed to that seat. Anything else you would like to get, on your agenda?
Oh, absolutely. Well, the city council controls a lot of the money that comes into
funding. We talked about that last week. Funding,
very critical to our community. And for me, money coming into the city council in my district 46 would be more about leveling the playing field and being able to give certain communities that are not being able to be served, actually put some of those funding into certain programs. For example, youth programs. We need more youth programs that are not babysitting clubs, but they're, serve the purpose intended, which is to make sure they educate these children. Because if they do not, if the programs are not educating the children, then we're losing another generation. And some of the children don't feel stimulated enough to stay in a program, an after-school program per se. So what do? They go on the streets and hang out, join gangs, so on and so forth. So the city council serves a very powerful role, as is being able to, put money towards school education, and they make a lot of decisions, as we're seeing some of the consequences of the city council members' decision voting in legislation. To public safety, which is number one priority for most of us right now in New York City, being able to have safer streets. So there's a lot of things that the city council do that affect us. Many of us may not know, but of course, safer streets is something that we need to.
We need that safer street. Last night I was driving home from the studio and I heard my kids were outside. They were like, "Oh, we're on the avenue." I said, "What are you doing on the avenue 10 o'clock at night? Get back inside." We do need safer street in this area. Recently, I've been talking to Mr. Japneet Singh. Last week, he asked, "What would you like to get accomplished?" And I said, "I want safer street and cleaner environment." So if you can make that, accomplish that, that's your job is done as a city council. What's a term like?
So this election is very unique. Usually it's 4 years term and 2 terms. But this particular election, it will be only 2 years and then run again, then 4 years and then 4 years. So it's very unique in this particular instance. And I want to add a lot of layer real quick on the public safety aspect of it. We do need to, for those of you who are watching, do need to make sure we hold our elected officials accountable for the decisions that they make, especially in the city council. Because certain things that happen in our community, we look around and say, who did this? Who made these decisions? But we really have to look at elected officials. A lot of times people look at the NYPD as the people who make the decision. No, they have to enforce whatever laws are out there. Right?
Right. So what if we're the community, we have the voice to go to our community leaders, city council leaders, and they're not the one who's saying what we need. They should be, out looking for us.
Yeah, they're working for us, the constituents. Our elected officials are being paid by us. The taxpayers' dollars are what's paying them. So they have to do the job. They're our representative when they sit there in the city council. So they have a task and a job to do on our behalf. They're working for us, not the other way around.
Right. Hey, Poverty People, good evening to you. Rohit Ram, how you doing? Good evening to each and every one of you. Locked on to Shanaz Musical Sensation. And Rohini Tutal said, very nice plans. Of course, if you guys have any questions, she'll be loved. Definitely answer it right here for you on Shanaz Musical Sensation. We have Mr. V-Ram title, Yay Dulcity, as you guys could hear in the background. We're keeping it low today. We're going to pump it up just a little bit. Hey, the beautiful Sheila Mata Persaud, I do hope you're feeling much, much better. Thank you for joining us on Shanaz Musical Sensation. Eileen Shine State, good evening to you. Hey, Joy Shayam, how you doing? Good evening, good evening. Hey, Kalila, how you doing? Good evening. Let's rock and roll. Yay, Dulcity, the title means yes, we could be friends, and our community needs to be friends with our city council and our people who are representing us. It's good to have a good relationship. And I see something about NYPD, this 71 precinct.
Oh, so my church that I attend for the past 27 years is actually located on Utica Avenue. I mean, I started with my church in Guyana, but I came here in Brooklyn and I continued with the same pastor. And our church is located in the Crown Heights area in Brooklyn. And my pastor and I actually ventured into a collaborative effort with a local precinct, which was the 71st precinct, and was the task of trying to engage the young people, because there were a lot of gangs in Crown Heights. Fast forward to my position, I actually was asked to join the 71st Precinct Community Council as the public relations person. And coincidentally, around that time, the pandemic hit, and I was able to do collaborative effort with them, serving the community with food and mask and sanitizer, and just be there for the community and the police as well, because we really need each other to work together. I mean, nothing can be accomplished.
Teamwork is dreamwork, as we say. You have to work together. And you are also advisory board. You are the board member of Visions, serving the blind and visually impaired, and the public relations officer for NYPD. That's what we talk about. So let's talk about the member of the Vision, serving the blind and visually impaired.
So everyone has the two eyes. I mean, not everyone, but I mean, we're so blessed that we can see, and we can see color, which is very important. When I was having my third child, my son, he was born with 1.5 tongue, and he was in an incubator. He was raised in an incubator, and the reason that happened is because I was doing too much. I was, working, I was running my business, and I was in school at the same time finishing my master's, my first master's, and I had my son very early. So what I ended up doing after I had him, I ended up starting a business in the neighborhood, storefront, and I rented an extra 400 square feet of space, and I raised my son. And he had, the doctor said he could have had some vision issues early on. And one of the things that I was very concerned with when I did some reading is the impact that your eyes have on being born very early. We have
fully developed.
Right. There are a lot of singers out there who are, Stevie Wonder is one of those people who was born preterm, and he had similar issues. So for me, it was so passionate when I read about this, and I was like so thankful and blessed to have my son. He wears glasses now, but he's 11. And even though he was a preterm baby, but being able to appreciate the fact that he has, the vision to see and the appreciation of life, I wanted to be able to give back and serve people who, visually impaired. So I was proposed the opportunity by a friend of mine who was on the board and I was invited to be on the board, and I accepted that position in 2016, of which I still proudly serve people who are blind and visually impaired.
Wow, I know someone in need of something right now, so we'll definitely reach out to her. Rishi Rambali, Fawaka, big up to Suriname. Good evening to each and every one of you. Locked on to Shanaz Musical Sensation. Sinarine, good evening to you. The Sunshine State, Florida, Orlando, big up you guys, big up. Beautiful Thursday night in NYC. Hey, Christina Taj, good evening to you. Rishi Rambali, thank you. Rohit Ram, did somebody say Ravi B, the wedding party? We have the video coming up on Shanaz Musical Sensation. So guys, we're gonna listen to the beautiful Dimple as she take her leave. I know she has her private, guys behind her, always supporting her. So thank you to the community in advance. I want to urge you guys to go out there and vote June 12th to June 22nd, early voting. And I'm not sure, I know getting this from the Board of Elections, this is mine's personally, an absentee. You can request an absentee ballot, but I will definitely go out there and practice my civil duties, which is going out to vote. So guys, we urge you, get out there and vote. Any parting words?
Yeah, definitely. I just want to encourage everyone who's watching. If you live in our community, live in our district, or you know of someone, please make sure you encourage them to vote. It doesn't matter if they vote for me or not. I would hope they would vote for me if you live in my district. But the most important thing, there are a lot of people who actually died for the right for us to have a privilege of voting. So it's imperative that you exercise, like Shanaz said, your civic duty. This Saturday, we have a fundraiser at my campaign headquarters. That's at 5012 Avenue N in Brooklyn. It's very close to Utica Avenue. Come on down or reach out to me or Shanaz to figure out how you can get on to us. My website is www.dimplewillabus.com. Very easy to find. I want to thank you, Shanaz, for the opportunity.
You are welcome. Guys, I also hashtag her name, so you click on her name, you'll take you to her Facebook page. You could see what she's doing. Fantastic job. I see you have D. Campbell locked on.
Yeah. She's from Guyana.
And Debbie, Gunny, good night. Wishing you good luck. So we all wishing you good luck. We know women empowerment is about time we see people of color in the higher positions because they're the one who listen to us, right? It's about time we're getting our voices heard. So go out there and anytime on our program, bringing our program and our listeners some good information, and we urge you a comprehensive campaign. Good evening to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. You're watching Shanaz Musical Sensation on the famous John from Queens YouTube channel. Continue supporting our #1 YouTuber, John from Queens. I'm yours truly, Shanaz Hussain.